Howdy and welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. I'm Jerry Schider. As an elite level athlete, owner of All In Health and Wellness, and author of the book Confidence Through Health, my goal is to help you achieve your goals and dreams using health as the conduit to get there. I want to say thank you to Social Media Cowboys for sponsoring this week's episode of the Confidence Through Health podcast. If you need help with a website, if you need social media needs for your business, if you need help with AdWords, SEO, all those things that you know you should be doing but you are too busy to do or you're too confused about, they are the experts that you need in your corner. If you're interested in launching a podcast such as mine, they help me edit my podcast and do a fantastic job making sure that all of the technical side of it is handled and we launch a nice, neat, edited podcast episode each week. So I want to thank Social Media Cowboys for their continued sponsorship of the Confidence Through Health podcast. You can find them at socialmediacowboys.com, or you can find them as well with other sponsors at confidencethroughhealth.com. Thank you all for joining me for the Confidence Through Health podcast. Your host, Jerry Schider here. Today, I get to bring you an interview with Harry Matadine. He is in the UK, just outside of London, and he brings in expertise in a lot of different holistic health, avenues. But mainly, I wanted to talk to him about sungazing. So we talk about that. We talk about, the conversation just goes, and we talk about several different areas of being able to take care of your health and naturally how to use nature and what God gave us to keep yourself healthy, to heal yourself when you're unhealthy, and to be able to tell the difference between the two. Do you know if you're unhealthy? Do you know if you're healthy? Be able to tell all those things. So we talk about those. He gives us a wealth of knowledge. It's a great conversation. I'm really excited about it. It's also the first time that I am doing this with an intention of putting it on YouTube. So episode 86, we're 86 episodes in to the Confidence Through Health podcast. So you can get this through any podcast avenue for the audio standpoint, but you can also watch us on YouTube to see the interaction live or in person, I should say. So without further ado, here is Harry Matadine talking about all things health and sungazing. All right, so my guest Harry Matadine is on the Confidence Through Health podcast. So thank you, Harry, for being on.
Thank you, Jerry, for inviting me. I can't wait to share my story and journey with you. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, and for those of y'all that are listening, Harry is in the UK and I'm here in Texas. And we connected through Facebook and through a mutual friend that then connected us. I think, just how Facebook works. And you find out that you both have similarities in what you believe. And so I've been wanting to have Harry on for a while. But you were doing some things that actually had you off grid. So I'd love to talk about that too as we get into some things. But
oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, but before we get into what the main topic I want to talk about is sungazing. Tell us a little bit about how your journey has got you where you are, like how you became interested in health and healing yourself.
Okay. Try and keep it short because we were such long stories. So right. I'm like many people. I'm sure you're the same, Jerry. I got broken by the system. I got destroyed by the matrix in terms of depression and a lack of understanding, low confidence. I lost a lot of self-esteem. I got inside my head. I became really negative and dark. I actually hated people, and I had to go on a journey of rewiring my brain from this torture of a mental prison that I was living in that I just didn't want to be around, if I'm being honest, to a journey of first of all, emotional health, facing my fears, fixing my emotions. And that was a journey. It's never ending. It was a 6-year journey. And then I started getting into, because it's holistic, right? I started getting into physical health. And actually what woke me up into physical health was urine therapy, actually, which is another completely random, maybe triggering topic for people watching this. And then from urine therapy on Facebook, I engaged with a lot of people. And I learned about fasting. I learned about veganism. I learned about fruitarianism. I learned about sunlight. Then I learned about nudism. Then I learned about sungazing. And through that, I just built a reputation through sharing my knowledge for free on Facebook of becoming a health coach and a guide. And it was through my own experiences with all these things that I've learned and now wrote books on these topics. So to cut a long story short, I was broken by the system and I went into a emotional, physical, spiritual health journey, just like so many of us, to get me to where I'm at now. So
right. Well, and it's really neat because I've got a body mechanic that works on me. He's not a chiropractor. He's more, it's a different format, but as an athlete, it's one of the things that I know as a runner, I'm pounding the streets and I'm getting all this stuff. Well, one day I was in there visiting with him and he was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this?" Because he knows that I'm in touch with a lot of different holistic health ways and healing ways. He's like, "Have you ever heard of this sun gazing thing? There's this guy that sun gazes that he came across, and he couldn't remember his name. So I don't know if it may have been you, but that he came across and he was like, the dude just wakes up and looks at the sun and then like looks at the sun before he goes to bed. And he's healthy that way. And it's like, it's healing me." He goes, "It's something to do with the pineal gland." And I was like, "Oh yeah, and I'd already met you through Facebook. So I knew a little bit about it and haven't researched it obviously as much as you have. And that's why I wanted you to have you on, is because it is something that is, I think, appealing to people if they can find a way to get off of pharmaceuticals. And I've tried sun gazing, and it is something that I notice a definite difference on those days when I do that, or slightly after that. Then on days, today here, it's rainy, it's cloudy, and it's like I can tell a difference in just my being,
Right.
So
yeah.
So like, and I touched on a little bit, but what is sun gazing, and like how does that actually work?
Right. God. Sun gazing is the art of looking at the sun directly, which, by the way, is a huge lie that the Matrix has put there, I believe, on purpose to keep us unhealthy,
Right.
because they tell us that looking at the sun is the most dangerous thing in the world. When actually the truth of, obviously, in this upside down world that we live in, is that if you look at the sun, even for a few seconds of the day, it seems to improve people's health. And obviously, the longest you look at the sun, the better. So
Right.
their lie is that it damages the eyes, when the actual truth is it heals the eyes, restores vision. But if I'm being honest with you, Jerry, there's like 1,000,001 amazing benefits of sun gazing. You can just go anywhere with it. It's not just does one thing. It seems to do a lot of things for the body. So
Yeah. Well, and of course, then the additional piece of that is if you're out looking at the sun, you're soaking in vitamin D, which if people didn't know that before COVID hit, now they all know, like, that vitamin D is so hugely important to your own body's ability to not just fight off viruses and boost your immune system, but just from a health standpoint, it's hugely beneficial.
Yep, exactly. And in fact, the study showed that with the COVID, vitamin D seems to reduce it significantly, because vitamin D is another wonder hormone that our body produces when interacting with the sunlight. And the best way is when you're looking at the sun, obviously your face is getting it. So yeah, I completely agree with that. One thing I'd like to say with the sun gazing is I'm big on breaking dogmas. So I know in the communities, there's people that seem to think you can only look at the sun at certain times, like sunrise and sunset. Now, these are the easiest times because the sun is less strong in the sky.
Right.
However, it's not true. You can look at the sun in the middle of the day too, and work your way up slowly. Don't rush the process if it hurts your eyes too much. But just understand that I'm big on, you can look at the sun any time of day, whatever health you're at, build up slowly, be prepared for detox reactions if you're unhealthy. But just because you get a detoxification reaction, don't mistake that for being unhealthy. Just recognize that is the body healing itself, because sun gazing is so powerful. So,
well, and that's a big key. And I know a lot of people, no matter what, whether it's sun gazing or another form of therapy, that they have that initial reaction where your body's detoxifying, and you think it initially, a lot of people go, "Oh, I'm allergic to that," because of the detoxification reaction, when instead you sort of have to, you got to push through that, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's same with veganism, same with fasting, same with any of these things. You'll get a headache. I've heard cases of people getting headaches from sun gazing. I've heard cases of, I get sneezing sometimes, so I'm not perfect with my health either. Sometimes I get the sneezing thing. Also to recognize that the eyes have their own inbuilt protection mechanism. So you'll blink if it's too strong, the midday sun or the sunset sun for you, and your eyes will blink or your eyes will water. It doesn't mean your eyes are ever going to be damaged from it. And like you said, Jerry, like, it just feels right when I look at the sun any time of the day. And by the way, I live in the UK, so there is hardly any sun. So that makes it more of a reason for me to look at the sun whenever it does break the clouds. So whenever I look at the sun, it just feels right. And we must go on intuition and what feels right. Does it feel amazing, first of all, to be naked in the summer outside? Yeah, it does. Or even just to be outside in the sun on a summer's day. But it also feels right to me, to my heart, to sun gaze any time of day, whether that be winter, sun, whenever it breaks the cloud. It feels right, let alone the logical reasons I've got in my head that we've all figured out in a community of why sun gazing is so amazing for the physical, emotional, spiritual health. So
Well, and one of the points that I make with people is like, when you remember back when you were in grade school and that you would go through a winter time, and then all of a sudden in the springtime the sun would come out and everybody in the class would go like, can we have class outside? Can we go outside? Can we, you just want to be outside in the sun, right? And it's not that you were smarter when you were in the sunlight but it was just that it made you feel so much better.
Yeah, it's so true. And you think about it, we have so much clouds here in the UK, but when it does break, I literally, we have days when it's just so cloudy and my mood, I'm healthy, but even my mood gets affected by the clouds being around, all things said. And then all of a sudden the sun breaks out, or there's just the sun there and your mood boosts up. Why is everyone happy in the sun? It's what you said. We are born to be free and to be outside in the sun. And of course, the ultimate way to get sun and medicine into your body system is through the eyes, because the eyes are the most important photoreceptor of light. Your skin absorbs light too. It's really important. Every other part of your body, but the eyes are the most important. So if you just look at the sun or look around it, if you're too scared and you want to try it slowly, you work with people where you're at, it just feels divine. The first thing I noticed of it that I knew was legit was my breath always slows down, like a lot. So it doesn't matter what rate I'm breathing at, my breath slows down. And I know from studying and just how it feels that the key to a long life is just, that breath calming down. That's why we do breath work, to slow it down. That's why we eat good foods, to slow the breath down. So sun gazing is huge at slowing the breath down and alkalizing the body from the acidic lifestyle that we often find ourselves living in. So
Right. Well, and that you hit on a couple of pieces there that I love and I try and promote. I'm sure you've heard of Wim Hof with his breathing method, and so I try to promote that with people because it's when you're breathing shallow and you're stressed, and especially when you're overweight, your lungs don't fully expand, and so you're losing not just the full capability of the lungs, but the full oxygenation part of what's going through your blood and how that, is affecting your brain and the other parts of your body. And so it does tend to, compound in the bad way, when all those things are negative against you. And so, so being outside and taking those deep breaths and slowing everything down, like you said, it's huge, I think, for your health.
It's huge. And I often say to people, being outside in sunlight is breath work because it slows the breath down anyway. When you look at the sun, it slows the breath down even more. Now imagine if you did do breath work outside while sun gazing. Imagine if you did something as simple as, I don't know, arch your back, because even for me, my posture isn't great. When my back goes straight and I consciously arch it and I look at the sun, I feel divine because I'm getting all the oxygen to the brain from the arch. I've got the sun slowing my breath down. It's absolutely amazing. And you know what? We live in such a stressful state in our brains that one of my favorite reasons for sun gazing is it literally makes the brain more coherent. So we've got the brain waves of stress going on, the high betas. We've got stressful lives. We've got jobs we don't like, all this stuff. And what it does is that it goes into the eyes and it slows the brain waves down. It goes from high beta to low beta to alpha brain waves. It makes this whole brain structure work. It seems to do a lot of things. If you're depressed, try sun gazing. If you don't feel good, you have a lack of energy, try sun gazing. If you feel great, try sun gazing because it just raises your vibration for whatever level you play it at. It really is good.
And the other piece that you mentioned there was the alkaline in your body, and that's I think there's more and more research that's true that's coming out about your body's pH and about how disease works in a pH state, and that if you alkaline your body, you may still get exposed to diseases and COVID or whatever, but your body's going to fight it off. It can't live in that state, and so sun gazing helps with that.
Yep, completely. Just by definition of the one fact that I know of, that it slows the breath down, it slows your rate of breathing, because acid lifestyle and acid blood comes from your breathing too fast from diet, stressful thoughts. So when you slow the breath down, you go into rest, digest, parasympathetic action, which naturally, like the Wim Hof breathing, naturally alkalizes the body and makes you calm and peaceful and relaxed and chill. And it literally is, the sun is like a god. Like it is a reflection of God, and you'll just become divine when you tap into that sun. You look at it, and like I said earlier, it literally is a programming where we have been told the complete opposite. We've been told that it will damage your eyes and actually the irony is I've heard many stories of it, people curing people's eyes. If people have myopia, short-sightedness, they sun gaze for a while and all of a sudden their eyesight, their glasses, it improves. It's mad what the sun gazing actually does. It can be a bit of a mess with the mind because it's the opposite, we've been told. So
right. Well, and it works with the pineal gland, right? So it like helps the pineal gland function better. And even to the point of, like I've heard stories where people have lost their like need for hunger and they're eating less, but they're still being healthy and they're still, because the pineal gland is somehow filling that void, and they're getting the nutrients they need from the sunlight and creating the nutrients in their body, right?
I think so. I mean, the sun is so I think the sun gives us nutrients straight up. And when we get it on our skin, but especially our eyes, then we're getting these missing nutrients that revitalize us. And by the way, you talked about the pineal gland there. I know one thing that sun gazing does, it decalcifies the pineal gland that we all have been calcified from birth with fluoridated water, with crappy food, with diet, with a lack of fasting. We all have, to some degree, calcified pineals. So what the sun does, the eyes are an extension of the brain, right? This is the easiest way to get information and light into the brain because it's very soft. It's very, you touch it and you're going to get in trouble, right? The eye, you can't poke it. So when even the midday sun, the wavelengths of sun, when it hit the eyes, they go straight to the pineal and decalcify and open that up. And do you know what they do, Jerry, as well? I think the studies have shown that there was a guy that did sun gazing for 30 years, every day or something, a lot of time. But he did it for a significant length of time. His pineal gland, not only decalcified, it grew like 30-40% normal, bigger than a normal pineal. By the time he died, they opened him up. Yeah. So what it does is, first of all, it decalcifies, and then you can play at the level once it's decalcified of actually growing this pineal. Because in my opinion, our ancestors had bigger pineals. Now it's been atrophied. We've descended over time. So one way to ascend again is to sun gaze. It will make that pineal, our spiritual antenna, bigger. And then when the pineal's bigger, then you can start talking about accessing our superpowers again and all these amazing benefits that unreal. So it literally is probably that's one of the biggest reasons why they don't want you to look at the sun, because it gives you access to a bigger pineal, and that's dangerous because within the pineal lies our real power, the DMT release and all the crazy things like
So do you think that's as far as how it's over generationally it's decreased in size? Do you think that's because there is such an emphasis on especially babies, like don't let your babies get in the sunlight, don't, because of whether it's skin cancer or whatever the reason is like keep your babies up. So do you think that during that developmental stages of early life in your brain that's when the pineal could really explode, if you will, in size?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're just attacked from birth to our age nonstop with, I don't know, bullshit like let's wear sunglasses outside in the sun, which, by the way, is one of the worst things you could ever do, let alone sun gazing. Another thing that they plastered us with is to put sunscreen on our bodies. I mean, that is not just ridiculous. That's downright harmful because anything you put on your skin gets into the bloodstream. And if you're putting chemicals into your skin, you are ruining your health at such a far rate. So those two are in place. The third is don't look at the sun. So yeah, I do think that we've descended and we've definitely our pineals have been atrophied and attacked on purpose and as part of the agenda to keep us small and tiny and not realizing that we're all powerful beings. We have the potential for amazing things. One part of that is just don't look at the sun because it's very harmful, which, by the way, is the easiest thing to disprove, because all I ask people to do if they never don't believe me is to try it for themselves. First of all, you will see that you don't die. Second of all, you'll see that you feel amazing. And third of all, that's the way that you start your journey of awakening, through experience. It will teach you more than anything that the Matrix or pharmaceutical companies could ever teach you. Experience, your real experience. Right.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've heard, anywhere from health related or even finances or whatever. If you're stuck somewhere and you want to make a change, okay, well, try something. If it doesn't work, you can always go back. Try it. If it doesn't work for you, you can always go back to the old way you were doing things. Like there's nobody preventing you from doing that. It's just it's a way that works. And if you're willing to be open to it, and I think that's a big piece of it too, is having the open mind to to trying something, and getting past that, as you said, that detox phase, getting past that piece of it to where, okay, I think this is actually working, and you have to have that open mind to be able to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, without the open mind, you are nothing in this world. I think that's how a lot of us woken up, because we realized that the matrix is what broke us. So we must get out of the matrix and do whatever we can. And my God, in terms of power protocols, a diet is huge, don't get me wrong, but I feel like sun sometimes is a level above. Because like you mentioned earlier, people seem to lose hunger because of the sun when they're getting that energy from the sun. And there's no better energy way to get from the sun than, I don't know, looking it through the most important photoreceptor of light. And by the way, this goes deep, because it's not even, I don't even promote, I do promote sungazing, but I also recognize there's another half equation people don't want to talk about, and that is blocking yourself from junk light at night. So we want to expose ourselves to sunlight and sun gaze in the daytime, but at nighttime we're exposed to what I'm doing with you now, unfortunately, but I have to, and it's fine, is the blue screens, and even fluorescent incandescent bulbs. So I get around this by promoting blue blocking glasses, which I'm pretty dedicated with. I wear these a lot at nighttime. So it's not even for me about doing good things. It's about also, because we live in such a toxic environment, I have to protect myself from junk light by, I don't know, looking stupid and wearing these glasses before bed so that I get a quality sleep, but that's what I do. And
and that's hugely important. And it's one of the things that I tell people when it comes to diet. It's not just about eating the salad before you have the fast food burger or whatever. It's about eating the salad and not eating the fast food burger. It's about, as much about what you are doing that's positive as about what you're preventing yourself from doing it's the things that are negative to you. And and so, one of the things that I've done, it's a small step, but it's, making sure that my cell phone is outside of my room when I'm sleeping, and making sure that there's no.
That's not a small step devices, to me, though. That's a huge step.
Yeah.
That makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
It really does.
Oh yeah, it does. And I've noticed, I've slept better. Not that I really had I wasn't an insomniac or anything like that, but my sleep has gotten better in the probably year to year and a half that I've made that step. So it's
nice.
It is moving away from those negative things that, and like I said, try it. And if it doesn't show that it was a big positive step, then, maybe it's not affecting you as much as you think or as much as anybody else thinks, but it's at least worth trying.
Exactly.
So
it is. And tied in what you said about sleep and sun gazing, what I found with sun gazing and the research I've done too is that you want your eyes to be exposed to a really bright, I think it's the sun, is it called lumen, the amount of light the sun emits? I think it's in lumen, right? There's no more lumen ever than when you can never receive to your body and your eyes more lumen than when you sun gaze. So basically, if you get the maximal amount of sun and you sun gaze any time of day, and obviously the longer the better, but a couple of seconds is good too. You get the maximum lumen. What happens is at nighttime, when you go into the opposite, the darkness, you're supposed to surround it, it gives you a much better sleep. So people often applaud, including myself, that even a little bit of sun gazing during the day, and I think you said earlier, it seemed to improve your health. And I think one of the reasons why it would do that definitely is because of the sleep. It gives you a deeper sleep when you sun gaze. So it's all tied in. Think about that.
Oh yeah.
When you sun gaze during the day, you get benefits at nighttime. So you do get benefits long after you finish the process of sun gazing. That's how health works. You eat your diet, you eat a good diet, and many hours and days after you feel good. You fast. It's not just something you feel good in the moment. It's got lasting effects for long, long after. Right.
Well, and so you mentioned fasting there, and you've talked about that before, and I know that you've researched that and done some work there. So and intermittent fasting is sort of becoming the recent fad, if you will, which I think there's some validity to that. But talk a little bit about fasting. Like, how important is that, and why is that important?
Right. Well, I've got a little thing that I read on Facebook, and I just made it my own in a way. I put a t-shirt on my t-shirts too. It's called "Fasting is the fastest way to health." Now, that doesn't mean it literally is, but I will tell you it is so powerful. And I'm glad that there's a movement going on, even with the mainstream of intermittent fasting, because I feel like that was how our ancestors thrived. Our ancestors may not have done long fasts, but they certainly did intermittent fasting, not through choice either. They were probably made to, because it wasn't like a shop where they could just go and buy some snacks all the time. They were made to do so. And you know what, Jerry? ties in with what you said about the body being all powerful. The body is all powerful, and you will realize this because when you don't eat for like, I don't know, as little as 14 hours, it's not a huge amount to ask, is it? To go 14, 16 hours a day, you can still eat as much you want in an 8-hour window. So you do the 14, 16-hour fast compared to what you usually do. You get such a massive amount of energy. People often find this. They get more energy when they're empty and fasting than they do when they eat again. And when they eat, they go, oh, my energy's gone because I've eaten too much. But when they're empty for 14, 16, 18 hours, they're like, whoosh. So again, we come back to experience. Intermittent fasting and building your hours up slowly for you, because by the way, it's not a race and a competition. Do it nice and slow. So if you're not used to fasting, please don't rush this, because you'll get detox reactions and you'll maybe put off by the process again. So you do a little bit, and you'll, with experience, you'll see that you'll start thinking, whoa, I am more energetic when I'm empty 15 hours into a fast than when I go and break it and eat loads of rubbish food. So fasting, again, it's one of those things that I love it because it tells you, it gives me the references that my body is enough as it is. Sometimes my body doesn't really require food. I mean, diet is important, but sometimes my body requires nothing, and it can give me a lot. I just love it. And I think everyone if I wish one thing for the world, and this is for everyone in the matrix, the mainstream, I wish everyone was on like at least 14, 16 hours intermittent fast, despite their diet. Not going to judge them on diet. 14, 16 hours a week. And that would change their life. And then they'd start changing their diet because they're already feeling better. So
well, and so I'd love to get your thoughts on this, because I've got a client that has struggled with the cravings of the poor diet, just struggling with the cravings. And I heard, I want to say his name is Dr. Jason Fang. He's
Jason Fung. Yeah, I've heard that guy. He's got a book out called Obesity Code. He's a good fasting guy. Yeah, he's cool.
So I heard an interview where he gave, and he said, that the idea is to get down to 10% body fat. And so if you're above that, you don't really need to eat because you've got the stored energy. And so I, this client, he's got some extra weight, and definitely not at the 10% body fat. He's much higher than that. And so I just floated the idea. I was like, what if you just fasted for a while? Like, and we had done intermittent fasting. We had done that. We had done even a full day. We had done a juice cleanse. We had done some different things. So it wasn't just him starting out from scratch. But I said, what if we just tried this? Because I think you're ready mentally. I think you're ready. And so I think he's on, today he's on day 11, where he hasn't eaten anything in 11 days. Okay.
Really? No food. What's he on? Juices?
He's on tea.
That's incredible.
He's on tea and water, a little bit of coffee. And he's down. I mean, he's down a considerable amount of weight, which you would, imagine.
Expect.
But
yeah.
He went through 4 or 5 days of, rockiness, and he was, like, oh, I've got a headache. I said, let's expect that. That's normal. Drink some more water. You're going to be all right. Get a little bit more sleep. You're going to be all right. And he's getting vitamins. Of course, we're supplementing with vitamins. But after about day 5, he was like, headache's gone. I'm not even hungry. My body's just, I said, your body's in the flow now. Your body is now saying, okay, I've stored all this energy for all this time. I guess now I'm going to use it. And other than he said, he's had a couple of moments where he's had some mental issues in the afternoons, where he's like, I'm having problems making decisions that normally I would make very easily. And I said, okay, you just need to take a 20-minute nap or something. Just refresh your brain. But yeah, so he's in. When I heard that interview, he had talked about that. He was like, a lot of people can just not eat for a considerable amount of time because they just stored up their energy.
Yeah.
So what do you think about
that's
that?
Incredible.
Like,
Jerry, that's incredible what you're doing with that guy. That's legit to me. I mean, I've heard that the world record actually, it's not even I've heard, the world record for the longest fast officially is 260 something days. And that's from it was in the 70s from a really fat man. And that's why he did it possible, because he had so much body weight and he was supplemented with, I think it was on water, and he had nutrients, vitamins and minerals, but he didn't eat any food for that time. So I'm in agreement with you and Jason Fung that if you're big, you can handle more. But I find it interesting that your client suffered a few rough patches in the first few days. because this is really common. This ties back with the detoxification. So just to expand on that a little bit, all detoxification is you are toxins and poisons from deep within your body that you have never bothered to get rid of. You are now attempting to get rid of them at a very fast rate. So when you fast, like he did, they're going to rush out into the bloodstream. And when these toxins from deep within rush out into the bloodstream, you feel like, but people must recognize that isn't a sign that the medicine, the fasting, the sungazing isn't working.
Right.
It's a sign that your body is healing. So you must stick with a protocol. Yes, it sucks. I've been through detoxification myself at the beginning of my journey, diarrhea. I've had headaches from dry fasting, all kinds of things. But that's what makes us warriors. That's what makes you people worthy of cleansing the body. It's not a process. It's easy. Someone can tell you what to do, but they can't hold your hand. You have to go through a little bit of suffering and detoxification at the beginning if you want to cure yourself. Because if you don't, you got that choice, or I don't mean to be mean, but if people don't go through these processes, the choices is these toxins will stay in the body. And guess what? They are going to cause cancer. They are going to cause serious diseases down the line. So it's got a choice. You make a choice. You go through the process like your client did. Well done to him, because look what happened after day 5. After, lots of energy, and he found it easy. Because at that point, all the toxins, or majority of the toxins, had come out the bloodstream, gone in the urine, the feces, the skin, come out, whatever. So it's really important for people to understand that you must stick with the processes and not muddle up detoxification. This is a huge problem in the communities we've got with a lot of people, and they'll blame it. They'll say fasting doesn't work. They'll say veganism doesn't work. They'll say sungazing makes me worse, urine therapy, distilled water, all these kind of processes. And it's just not true. You've got to stick with it. That's what makes me and you warriors. It's what makes people watch this warriors, sticking with the process.
Yep. No, and it's getting past that point where, and the worst thing you can do is start the process, and you've got the toxins all flowing in your body, and then stop, because now they're all going to go to a different spot, and they're all going to get absorbed again. Yeah. And that's when you do find, like the cancers are the things that, because, we're all developing cancers every day. We all have cancerous cells every day. And if your body's working properly, you're going to get rid of them every day. But when you have those toxins that are blocking, pathways of elimination, then that's when it starts to blow up and become an issue. Right. And it's a fallacy here that people think that there's, just because you're fat and obese, that yes, if you're fat and obese, obviously you have a lot of toxins, but there's also a fallacy that just because you're thin, like me, because I'll tell you something about me. I can't put on weight. I eat a lot. I'm just genetically from my dad. It doesn't mean I'm healthy. I wouldn't say I was healthy before, because I've had loads of detox reactions from doing all these protocols. What happens is you can be thin and have loads of toxins, because the body is so amazing. Your God-given body is so amazing that it can capture toxins in places you would never imagine and never see in this vessel. And like they will never show up in symptoms serious enough for a lot of people until it's too late. And this is another tragedy of life. So you think to yourself, oh, I felt fine at 50. I felt fine at 55. All of a sudden at 60, you drop dead. Why? Because the toxins were always there for such a long time, but you got to a point, there's like a point, a meter where the symptoms don't show up. And then by the time they do show up, sometimes it's too late, and then you don't get a chance. So what I'm saying to people is, you've got a choice with detoxification, with fasting, with all these therapies, with changing your diet, to go through this process of removing these toxins. It's not pleasant. It never is. But you can ride it out. You have a choice. Ride it out or die early, pretty much. We don't want people. We want people to thrive. That's why we're doing what we do. We want people to thrive, and you can. Yep. Well, and it's sort of like that example reminds me of like a car battery. And you go to start your car and it starts up every time, but then you go out there and it's dead, but it's not really truly completely dead. It's just doesn't have enough power to start the car, and it's sort of, it's sort of in opposite. So like you always have toxins, you've got them there. You just don't have enough to actually see the symptoms yet. Yeah. Yep. It's so true. Whilst you're talking now, I was thinking of one thing, the actual plan that people can do is to skip breakfast. I feel like we've been lied to, Jerry, about breakfast. I don't know your opinion of this. I'd love to know. Yep. I feel like the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is one of the another of the biggest lies that we've encountered in this matrix. Because when I was younger, I was given Weetabix with cow's milk, pasteurized. And you know what? Even when I was young, I was like, why is this not giving me any energy? I felt really lazy for school after I ate. My mum and dad made me eat this Weetabix with cow's milk pasteurized. I was like, I've been told this is supposed to give me energy for school, and it never bloody did. And I feel like just the whole idea of breakfast is a misnomer, and it doesn't give us energy, because guess what? Eating breakfast first, going to bed at night, eating something just before bed, then waking up first thing and having breakfast, that's called not giving your body enough of a break.
That's not intermittent fasting. That's called taxing your body too much. And that if people worked on maybe delaying breakfast a little bit and maybe delaying it a couple of hours and messing about with that, and then having the breakfast food, they'll experience a huge shift in energy.
Yeah. No, I mean, my personal practice, what I do, because I'm an athlete, and so I'm running anywhere between 35 and 55 miles a week, 6 days a week. So I take one day off, but there are other, so I'm running 6 to 7 miles a day, every day. And I typically do it. I wake up, I take the kids to school, I come back and I go for my run. And then after my run, I wait about an hour, shower, clean up, all that kind of stuff. Then I eat. And that's my first time I eat in a day. And that's usually, anywhere between 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning. So it's more of a brunch. It's more of a mid-morning. It's not an immediate.
Yeah.
But I wake up at 5:00. So I'm up for a good 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm doing an hour of exercise before.
Yes.
And my exercise.
Doing this, Jerry. I mean, the mainstream. They tell you that the medical system would tell you you shouldn't do running on an empty tummy. Are you crazy? How are you getting the energy for this stuff? How are you doing this?
Well, and it's knowing what you eat during the day, so that I've got the right vitamins, I've got the right minerals stored in my body. So when I go to run, I'm using the stored stuff, and that's one of the things I tell people when they're trying to lose weight, and especially those that get on this kick of, well, I'm going to do my protein shake or my energy shake right before I work out. And then, why am I not losing weight? I'm like, well, because the only thing you burned during your workout was what you consumed right before it.
Well, you just,
you didn't burn any fat. You didn't burn anything off your body. You just burned what was in your belly.
Yep.
Yeah. And
it's
so,
true. If people are going to do that, I'd always say that you can treat yourself with food and naughty foods after you've exercised, not before. Because also, like you said, I've always got the best exercise for myself when I'm on an emptier tummy. I've found this with yoga. My best yoga sessions are when I'm fasted. I sometimes do yoga after a couple of hours of eating, and I'm never as flexible. I'm never as happy as when I'm doing exercise on an empty tummy. I can get more out of the exercise. And then if you want to, then you can treat yourself to whatever you're going to do. But I mean, exercise is huge, by the way, in health as well. But then you want to be doing some kind of exercise, but then that ties in with the sun too, because people now can go outside and run. People can do exercise. It doesn't have to always be in a gym. Another thing, Jerry, I've never been to a gym in my life, and I do exercise every day. So I don't even feel like I need to. I mean, I respect people that do, and maybe in the future I would do that. But I'm just saying that there's many ways to exercise that don't involve paying money and going to a gym.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things that, I mean, even though, I am in a sunnier part of the world, all year round, like I get a lot of comments from people that maybe don't know me as well. And they'll see me and they're like, hey, do you do a tanning booth? And I'm like, no, I run every day. I'm outside in the sun and I run every day. And so that's why that's why I've got a nice tan. And I get really dark in the summertime, of course, when it's really, the sun's really close, but it's, and I know that that's a huge benefit. That's a huge benefit of doing your workouts outside.
Yep. And to touch base with that too, sometimes the mainstream will tell you that there's such thing. Burning skin and dark skin is not a good thing. Now, my findings, my experiences, and all the books I've read and all the information I've learned from people on Facebook is actually a true sign of health is what you've got, Jerry, and what I try to aspire to is to always have darker skin for you. It doesn't mean if you're brown, you're going to turn black. It doesn't mean if you're white, you're going to turn dark brown. It means that you can recognize in yourself, in your skin color, whether it's going a little paler or a little darker. Now, if your skin color, your face going a little paler, I don't want to be harsh here, but that means that you're just eating the wrong food. You're doing something wrong with your health. You're not getting enough sun, because the sun makes your skin dark, but so does your diet too. If you focus on the right foods, you focus on the right exercise and health, you can darken your skin. So that's a great point. You want to have a skin tan. You don't listen to the mainstream that tell you it's dangerous to have to darken skin. It's actually the opposite. And this goes deep, because in Asian culture, they actually aspire to the opposite. They actually want to be paleo. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know if you heard that, Jerry. The Asians actually the Indians want to be whiter skin. This is this is unhealthy. I don't care about the aesthetic look of it. This is such a bizarre world that we live in some aspects.
Well, and your skin is your number one protective barrier, and if you don't allow it to protect yourself by being harsh against it. One of the things that I started, I actually did it for probably 3 months before I even told my wife, because I wanted to see, is she going to notice something before I tell her? Like, because I stopped using soap in the shower, over 2 years ago now. And the only reason I can do that, and I think that I can do that and not have a stench, especially with the exercise that I do, I go in and I'm in the shower for literally a minute. I go in for a minute, I rinse off, and I'm out. Of course, I use deodorant doesn't have any metals in it or anything. But I don't stink. I don't have a stench. My wife didn't notice anything for 3 months. Like, it wasn't like, what's wrong with you? Are you forgetting to use soap or anything? But the reason I do that is because the abrasiveness and it's tearing your skin off, and it's taking away your protective layer.
Yes. Soap is, there's so many things that are bad. Even mainstream shampoos and conditioners, in my opinion, if people can avoid them or move to organic and much cleaner products, it's going to make a life-changing difference. I think too that, I don't know where you are, Jerry, but where we are, the tap water is very bad. So the longer you stay in the shower, obviously, and plus it's hot too, people have hot showers, that's going to absorb into the skin even more easily. So one thing the mainstream is doing wrong too is like showering in dirty tap water for far too long. Well, yes, sometimes you might smell, you might need to do that, but then you've also touched base with something else. I've noticed this too in my journey. I don't smell anymore ever since I rode the detox hump at the beginning of my fasting, my change of diet, and all the things I do. At first I did, because I had the poisons coming out. You'll smell for a bit. You'll really have nasty smells. But then now I don't need to hardly ever take showers, because I just don't smell, because I'm purified from within. Smelling only comes from poor diet and negativity and stress and wrong lifestyle. And that's the truth. And that's the reason why people feel that they have bad BO and all these kind of issues. They never come up in our communities. It's so rare. Once you purify yourself with all the things that we know about, it becomes a non-issue. It really does. Yeah.
And because it's the toxins that are smelling, and once you get the majority of those out of your body, then, when you sweat, or which we all do, whether you feel it or see it or not, you're sweating all day long. Your body's, eliminating, if it's working properly. And so, not smelling is actually I think it's a really good sign, like you said, that you're healthy internally.
It's a good sign. Yep. And also, Jerry, goes deeper. Like, even we'll talk about feces too. If your feces, because I've been in public toilets where people are next to me, and you just go into a toilet and you sit down, it like absolutely stinks. The guy behind you. So that too is linked in with diet and health. Like, if you go to the toilet and somebody's done a really horrible smelling that stays around, that is an indicator that person is in trouble. Right. And sooner rather than later, there's going to be a big problem there. And quite frankly, your poo stops smelling too when you start purifying yourself. It all becomes much easier, and no smells.
Yep. It does. And since you mentioned that, like, one of the things to tie back into, like, not knowing if you've got toxins and not knowing what's going to happen in with different diseases that could come in the future. You're talking about you're 50 and you're healthy, you're 55, you're healthy, and 60, and you just all of a sudden you pass away and you don't even have a clue why. One of the things that I've seen is that research has shown, they've researched and said that people with constipation as early as 40 years before mental health issues are starting to show up. They're now starting to say that's an early indicator. If somebody's constipated in their 20s, they can say pretty much with certainty, if they don't change their habits and reduce constipation, that they're going to suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, anywhere from 30 to 40 years from there, 50 to 60 years old, and all of a sudden they're going to have onset. And by that point, it's not that it's too late, because I still think you can make some drastic changes and slow those things down. But to know that that you could, in your 20s, you
can start building diseases.
I could change this. And
isn't that crazy what you just said there? I love what you just brought up there. I haven't thought about this in a long time, but I've known that Hippocrates said that all diseases start in the gut. Everything's linked in the body, right? So if you've got problems with your constipation, basically what's happening is say 20s, like you said, you have constipation. You are basically leaving certain feces in your gut that are never coming out for 10, 20, 30 years. Yes, you get some out because you die if you didn't poo at all, but you're leaving putrid feces in there for a long period of time. What's that doing? That's making your bloodstream extremely dirty, and that's going around your body. And because your guts are linked into your heart, your body, and all the other organs of your body, I'm not surprised that constipation. And by the way, I think, if I'm being honest, most people have real problems with gut health owing to really dirty colons. If we could take a scan of what I don't know how we do this. I've seen in books scans of people's colons. They don't even look normal shape anymore. They prolapse. They've got diverticulitis. I think it's like holes in them, and it's because people are just eating and getting constipated, and these problems will cause massive issues in the future. And I believe 100% what you said, that if your colon is dirty from wrong lifestyle, and it just builds and builds and builds, of course that's going to cause problems, not just in the colon, but in other areas, because your colon is linked to everything else. And it goes deeper, because reflexology shows us that every part of the colon is connected to every other part of the body. So if one part of your colon's stuck, it might be the part that's connected to your head for Alzheimer's. So it literally is all connected, and it's our job to work on each part of the body and to cleanse the whole body. And we can do that. We can change our diet. We can do enemas. Enemas is great for constipation, by the way. Fasting is great for constipation. Getting pure water, not tap water, is great for. There's many solutions to fix these problems, but people must start early and recognize that every part of the body is sacred. You don't just work on like the head. You work on the gut. You work on everything. You work on everything holistically, and then you'll be healthy. And by the way, that's why I like sungazing, because it's not just looking to the eyes. All these practices we're talking about seem to affect the body holistically. Everything you eat affects everything in the body. Everything you look at with the sun affects everything in the body. It's all magical. And the fasting too, emptying the body creates the energy for the body to heal itself. When you stop putting, because eating food sometimes takes energy. It takes away energy from us too, especially if you eat too much. When you stop eating and you take a break from eating for 14, 16 hours a day, you give yourself the time for the body to work its miracle of cleansing itself and autophagy. It just literally, the body goes to work, and it's all so magical. It really is.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's similar to the way a virus works, you know, and one of the things that I know a lot of people that I work with and connect with, that they were all nervous and scared when COVID first came out. And I was like, well, the only thing you have to worry about the virus is the virus wants to live. So, you know, we can kill the virus, or we can starve the virus, you know? And so if we starve the virus, how do we starve the virus? Well, we prevent it from having a good environment to live in. Right. Well, it's the same thing with our bacteria in our gut. And like if we're eating poor things and we're fermenting forever because we're constipated, and so the stuff's staying in there, and just what we're doing is we're creating an environment for bad bacteria to grow, and then it's causing detrimental things that, like you said, go throughout your whole body.
It's true. You just said is the Bouchon versus Pasteur argument. If you keep the terrain clean with your health protocols, there's no way that a dangerous virus can really take hold. And like you said earlier, we're all fighting diseases. We've all got cancer going on our body, but it's normal when you're healthy to take that out straight away. So say the COVID is real and it comes into your body, then if you're healthy, it comes in, it goes out. It doesn't stay in, because your body is so purified and healthy that it can't survive in an alkaline. We know that, you know, Jerry, we know that cancer can't survive, all diseases, but cancer can't survive in an alkaline environment. And how do you alkalize the body? Through the things you preach, through the things I preach, even sungazing, fasting, all these amazing things. So when you keep the body alkaline, there's no such thing as disease can touch it. And then you can play at the game of, I'm lucky. I've not long past the place where I worry about diseases. Now I'm playing at the game of how much energy. There's a next level. There's like, how much energy can I get of a day? How high can I take the consciousness? And the answer to that is there's no limit to how much energy and consciousness you can expand in, because we live in duality. So then you play the game of how much fun. So it's not even about diseases. It's about diseases for one set of people. But once you finish your diseases, then you become a warrior. And then you go, how much energy can I extract from today, which I can use towards my higher purpose, which I can use towards getting out of my 9-to-5 job, which I can use towards facing my fears and conquering challenges. So
Well, and it's so true that dis-ease, you know, is the word. It's disease is dis-ease. So once you put yourself at ease, then what can you find? You know, what can you find in that next dimension that you can then open your mind to? And, you know, and it's almost like the stuff that mainstream food, you know, is blocking our ability to do that. You sort of talked about that earlier. It's like being able to be at ease and open your mind, whether it's sun gazing or meditation or whatever practice it is that you're able to just stop and say, I'm at one with myself, and let me just examine the energy field around me. Let me examine the energy, you know, in my community. Let me see, where do I need to be? And so talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you feel and know that positive versus negative energy, and like, and know which way to go, like which avenue to pursue more and which not to?
Would you repeat the question? So we talking about positive, negative energy.
That positive, negative energy. Like, how do you feel that? How do you know that it's not just energy? How do you know it's positive? And how do you know it's negative? Because we all go through slumps up and down throughout the time.
Right. So in terms of health protocols, when I feel like, for me, my best personality comes out. So I will connect dots much easier when I'm really healthy. I will feel more energetic. I will feel not stimulated, but just relaxed and chilled at the same time, as more confident in the best version of me. I know when I'm going through slumps in detoxification, because I get low, I start to get, I wouldn't say depression, but my version of depression. I get like a little bit of negativity coming in there. So I know what's good for me. And by the way, I just want to talk too a little bit about if people are struggling with changes in diet, then one thing I personally believe is that sometimes water and what you drink can overpower that stuff. So if you go to a higher source, because it's lighter than food is dense, but if you get your water source correct, if you get a real quality water, whatever you believe in water, whether you believe in I believe the Kangen is good. I believe these expensive machines, these water machines, often they work. But if you don't have a lot of money for expensive water machines that do work, why don't you try cheap distilled water? Why don't you even try rainwater? If you can change your water source and get quality water in, it's a great place to start, and then you can start changing your diet and all these things once you handle the water, because ultimately it's the water that cleans the bloodstream, and the bloodstream is what gets dirty from wrong food. So you could clean a wrong food diet with good water, and then you can start working on not poisoning yourself in the first place with a bad diet by changing your diet. So
well, and water's, like you said, it's really great for toxins, but a quick story. I had a client that came out to me that she was a closet smoker. Like, nobody but her husband knew that she smoked. And she didn't even tell me that for like the first 2 or 3 sessions, 2 or 3 weeks of working with me as a health coach. But I just kept telling her, drink more water. You need to drink more water. You need to drink more water. Like, you've got to start flushing this stuff out of your system. So if you're thirsty, don't drink the soda, don't drink the coffee, don't drink the tea. Like, let's get as much water in as you can. And she said she cut her smoking by like almost 3/4 in 2 weeks. And I was like, that's odd. That I wasn't planning on that to happen. But, she said the reason is that the water made her taste the smoke. So she tasted it as she was smoking. And she was like, I can't stand the taste. I can't do that. But she was hiding the taste with the sodas and with the coffee and with the other things that had a stronger, sense for them. So it really does work if you've got, water really does help as a first step. And even to identify those things that are toxic to you. Your body will start throwing that out.
Most people would be, for most people, tap water, and that includes taking showers too much in the day, because that takes it through the skin. It's just often tap water is a real disaster. I mean, I'm all for all kinds of water. I don't shut myself down to anything. I believe spring water is good for you. I believe the expensive ones. I believe the cheap ones. I believe the urine therapy. I mean, there's loads of things that I believe. I don't shut myself down. I just do know that if you can, most people are nailing their water wrong by default of just drinking tap water and thinking, oh, but the government's giving me this tap water and it must be healthy and not poisonous. I mean, if you think that, go and watch Erin Brockovich. Have you seen that film, Jerry? That's an example of how much corruption there is going on in the world. That's just one small example of how poisonous the water is everywhere. Like, Jesus.
Yep. No, it's very true. So, and you mentioned something there that I wanted to circle back to, because you said it earlier and you said it again, as far as the showering in the hot water. One of the things that I've started doing, maybe I'm maybe a year into it now, but not only do I take quick showers, and it helps to take quick showers when you take cold showers, cold. I take cold showers, and then I take, I shave, face and head, and I always use cold water. And so I've been doing that for about a year, where it's like I limit hot water touching my body as much as I can.
Nice.
And for one of the reasons you said is that when you put hot water in your skin, you're your skin opens up and the pores open up, and you can
Yes.
not only eliminate stuff, but you can absorb whatever is touching you or whatever's stuck on your skin as well.
It's true. Yeah, and that's completely true. I mean, I think personally there are benefits to hot, cold shower into switching between both. But, I mean, you're right. Hot water obviously warms up. It opens up the blood vessels and allows that dirty, toxic water in. So yeah, you should limit your contact with it. And by the way, cold therapy, which you're doing with a cold shower, is a whole different ballgame. That's another healing therapy we haven't touched bases with. That is like the Wim Hof does. It's super powerful, and it's another one like Sungazing does a million and one things, amazing benefits that come from cold showers. Not least the fact that you feel like a Superman. You feel so refreshed. And say you wake up in the morning, like you've not even had a proper sleep. You feel really dreary. You go and splash your face with cold water. What happens? Immediate change in shift in consciousness. That's not a placebo. That's actual some physical health stuff going on there. You know, a huge splash of dopamine. You're basically traumatizing your body temporarily, forcing your body to adapt like a stress, a hormesis, and it makes the body it uses the body's potential. So cold showers, my God, I'm a wimp for that, because I'm very thin. I shiver so easily. In fact, I say that you can overdo it with the cold showers. I've had problems where I've just shivered too long. So don't rush that process either, guys. Don't be too extreme and think you can handle cold and ice baths for too long. But yeah, cold showers is an amazing. And do you know what I think as well, Jerry? Even if you're doing with tap water, my opinion is sometimes even if something's bad, the benefits outweigh the negatives. Therefore, you get more good from it than bad. I feel like intuitively, even if you were going to shower in dirty cold water for 5-10 minutes with cold, I feel like you're going to get way more benefits than the tap water going in your bloodstream, because just the cold is so amazing. It's one of those. Yep.
No, and I definitely, I mean, the way I started it was doing my normal shower that I used to do, and then, the last 5 or 10 seconds, just turn the hot water off and let the cold water, and then turn the cold off, and so, yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's like, you got to start slow with that, because it's a big shock to the system. To do that. So,
but then if you can do that, it's also a good test of character and willpower, because if you can do that, if you can force your body to do that, what else can you do in life? You can do anything. If you can force yourself to do something you really don't want to do, then you can go out there in the world and chase your dreams down easy, because you've just taken a cold shower and your body's telling you that's freaking out in the moment you do it. And especially if you've never done it before, it freaks out. It's like, what are you doing? You're killing me. You're not.
Well, and it's another thing that affects your breathing too, like, because you immediately
great point.
go to that that rush of breathing, and like you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cold, or like jumping in a cold pool or a cold lake or something. It's like you get that rush where you feel like your lungs just completely collapsed because they're
You get the rush. Great point. And then what happens is your breath. It's another one that super slows down the breath too. Like the longer you're in there for the cold, the more you will slow the breath down. And literally, if you guys want the key to health, I'll nail it in one sentence. You slow the breath down. However you do it, your health changes. Your conscious transforms. One way is cold therapy. One way is sungazing. One way is food. One way is fasting. One way is grounding, and all these magical things.
Yep. Very true. No, and I definitely believe in grounding too. I mean, that's one of the things that I tell people is like, go out in your garden, go out in your, yard area, go to the beach, whatever it is, take your shoes off, sit, put your hands in the dirt.
And the beach is even better, because the beach gives you the negative ions. It gets you the pure air and the grounding and the sand. So you've got the double powwow with the beach. The beach is amazing. It really is a powerful therapy.
Yep. Very, very true. So, tell me about, because I know you did some time off grid. So tell me about, how that was. Like, how was it to be completely away from all of this, electronic stuff?
Well, I must confess, Jerry, I'm 33 and I've been living in my parents' house up to the point of this July when I decided to go off grid and take that risk. I was living in a very sheltered existence where I had my food taken care of for me. I had a room. I didn't have to pay rent. I was living just a sheltered life. And even despite the fact I was into health and doing all these amazing things. So I really got woken up when I took on this mission of off grid. I was given an opportunity by my best friend. There's two of us, an empty space of land, a lot of gardening to do, a lot of growing of fruit trees. And I got the most amazing experience of learning of true health. I became congruent with the health coach that I always knew I could be when I went off grid. Because that was what came me to realize that the nature is what really heals us. I mean, we can be healthy within the matrix in houses.
Right.
Don't get me
Right.
wrong,
Right.
but the real lifestyle that I desire now is to be surrounded by trees, living in the mountains, surrounded off grid, like you said. So there's no EMS. You get
Right.
the best sleeps. You've got pure air from the mountains. The trees give you negative ions and fresh air. You've got no people around you, because sometimes people can bring you down. Even negative people everywhere, damage, you know, people just can't help it sometimes. You can choose who you're surrounded by. So the off-grid lifestyle is, well, not even off-grid. I'd say in a countryside or a life away from the city, the urban jungle, is something that I feel like everyone watching this really should desire at some point in their life, because it brings you back in alignment with how to be happy. I found for me, I'm happiest when I'm living aligned with nature. I mean, that's my ultimate goal. And I loved it. I've done it for 5 months. I've just taken a break. I'm going to go back there in the spring. And yeah, it's just amazing. I was grounded. I was in the sunlight. I was working in the garden. One excuse to be in the sun all the time. I just have to do gardening and grow some plants. And I just get to ground and be kind of half naked. Yeah. You know, it's a beautiful life.
Yep. Well, and, you know, and I've read a lot of books on like mental stability and mental, you know, the mental health issues and the connection between obviously nutrition and all that, but a lot of them also talk about just, you know, getting out in nature. It can be one of the biggest, like just going for a walk, you know, in a wooded park can be one of the biggest, you know, holistic ways to heal mental health issues. You know, and it's so what it is. So true. Is it is it the negative ions? Is it, you know, like what do you think it was from your experience?
Oh, I mean, there's again a million and one reasons why nature is amazing. I mean, first of all, I think if we live in the urban jungle visually, we are limited in what beautiful things we're seeing, because our eyes acknowledge beauty. Now, I'm not saying a house isn't beautiful, but I'm just saying that the urban jungle is a bit what's the word for it? Everything's the same. There's not much as beauty in the jungle. When you look at a tree, that really makes you come alive. It probably opens up your chakras. You're looking at the color green, like the green heart chakra, it expands. I think it's the negative ions. It's the pure air. It's probably the fact that trees are higher consciousness than people, in my opinion. They are beautifully awesome, powerful beings that work together to help each other out, even when they're dying. They're there to help us grow and ascend. I think it's I really couldn't know. I think it's a combination of a million things that go on. When you align yourself with nature, you find that your true happiness comes out. And at that process, at the time when you align yourself with nature and you go out in nature, you start beginning to heal, because your healing will be slowed down or inhibited the longer you stay within the system. You can do a lot within the system. I've done so much in the urban jungle. I've done so much. But I think for me, my time was at 33. I need to step my game up and really decide for myself, do I want to be living in the urban jungle the rest of my life, or do I want to be living surrounded by nature, but by cool people too? So it's about relationships. I'm definitely up for, and that's what we're doing over there. We're doing a health retreat where we want to invite people like yourself and your families and other people to come visit us, so that A, we can learn from you guys, but B, so you guys can have a good time surrounded by nature and heal yourselves too. So
That's awesome. Well, and I think you said something that made a connection to me, is that the visual aesthetic of the urban jungle is man-made, and so it's what we think we want to see, you know, but it's not necessarily what our brain says is beauty and helpful and relaxing, and you know, and obviously I think anybody would be able to look at a concrete building and a few trees and go, the trees are more relaxing to look at. I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah, so, I think it literally does something to your chakra system. It does something to your eyes, just like sungazing does something to you. When you see something in nature, it lights you up, and it just reminds you of who you actually are. And actually, we can all see beauty in. I like a beautiful house, and when you're present to the moment, everything is beautiful. Don't get me wrong, even the urban jungle. It's just it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to be happy surrounded by, it's just the right environment to really go for full health level for your healing, to be surrounded by trees, to surrounded by nature. It is our true nature to be surrounded by nature. So it's true.
That's awesome. So I want to wrap everything up a little bit. I mean, this has been great. It's been awesome, and I think it's going to be just a wealth of information for my viewers and listeners. But how can somebody, like, how can they get your books? How can they get a hold of, get in touch with you? Like, how can they connect with you if they wanted to?
Oh, thanks, Jerry. So I'm on Facebook, although my Facebook friends list is kind of maxed. But my Instagram, you can add me on Instagram at Holistic Health with Harry. That is all one word. Also,
Cool.
my YouTube is Holistic Health with Harry. And my books, if you typed in Harry Matadine, which is my full name, you'll find I've got books on urine therapy, sunlight, sungazing, meditation. I'm working on a book on seam retention and growing your hair long. So I'm definitely always doing things. I've never stopped learning. I hope to carry on writing many more books and finishing this Portugal product. So if anyone does want to contact me, feel free to go on Instagram, YouTube, contact me there and buy my books, because my books are literally my condensed wisdom at a good price. And that's my entire brain download. I love books for that reason. They are so amazing and they're so fun to write, Jerry. Literally, it takes me a couple of weeks off the top of my head, and I'm like, boom, done. And people are like, oh, this is great information. Yeah, because books are the best to people. Yeah. They really are you at your best. I recommend everybody write a book in their life. So that's how you find me. Harry Matadine on the Amazon, you'll find.
Awesome. And speaking of books, like it's to me, it's something that I've started reading about 3.5 years ago. I really wasn't a reader until then. And it's amazing how much knowledge you can gain from reading a book.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing, whatever the topic is, as far as nonfiction, like it's whatever the topic is, it's amazing. Like somebody poured their heart and soul into this. And like you said, it's all their wisdom, in that subject matter.
Yep.
So it's well worth.
You get the best. You get the best of someone, and you get it. And in this society, it makes you concentrate, because what's lacking in even myself is concentration. So when you sit down to a book, you are forced to concentrate, and that's a beautiful thing in this day and age. It really is to really be present to what you're seeing. So
it is. Well, man, it has been awesome to have you on, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the future, having you on again.
Jerry, thank you so much for having me, brother. And if you're up for it, I would love to return a favor and interview you for my own channels in the future. So next few weeks, it'd be fine.
That'd be great. Thanks for checking out the All in Health and Wellness Confidence Through Health podcast. Our goal is to use health as a conduit to help you reach your goals in life.
A little lighter than me. I'm about to black out. Her grip is getting tighter on me. I think I like it deep inside. I feel the fire in me. She like the milky, see me cream into the coffee in me. She got soul in the sway.